Okay, so today I got something a little different for you. It's a webcam. Well, not a webcam, sorry. It's a security camera. We've been using it as a baby monitor, but a lot of people buy these and use them as security cameras on their house. It comes with a nice little mount, screws on there, and you mount it to the wall. It's got Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and then it's got SD card reader, so that way it can record directly to SD, and then it's powered through USB. So all that you have to do to get this apart is take the pads off, and then there's four little screws. You take those off, and the bottom comes off. Now this video is not a repair. There's nothing wrong with this camera. It's something different. So there's a purpose behind it. So I want to learn more about uh, JTAG and serial because I want to figure out how to program these. That way I can replace bad processors. I might need to figure out how to dump one and then figure out how to flash good ones to get new processors, well, microcontrollers put on these boards. So I'm assuming this here is a JTAG connection on this board. It has 5 volts to all the pins except for one is ground. So I think that'd be JTAG. I don't think that would be serial. And it doesn't have any life on it when it boots or anything. It doesn't do anything. There's no signal. So there's no sign of it being serial. So pretty sure it's going to be a JTAG connection there, but who knows without a data sheet. So if anyone has a data sheet for an ST30 F772 Alpha, please comment down below. I would love to see the data sheet for this. I can find the ST30 F772 India, but that's not what I need. They're definitely different for pinouts on the two. But yeah, I really need the data sheet to this one so that way I can figure out what exactly those are up there. But that's besides the point. Trying to learn more about communicating with these microcontrollers. So this camera had been giving us some problems. Just we changed routers. We got a new router, and then I was having a hard time getting it to connect to the new router. I got it working now, but so yeah, let's open this up and take a look at it, and you will see right here you got 4 unpopulated pins here, but they were nice enough to give us a silk screen on here that says 3.3 volts RX, ground, and TX. Now what that's going to be is serial. So we got a UART serial. So yeah, we got a serial port here that we can connect to. So let's try hooking it up on the computer and seeing what we can see. So what we'll probably end up doing is talking directly to. Let me unhook this microphone or speak. I think that's the speaker there, so that way I'm not pulling so tight on that cable. We got this Realtek chip right here. It's a Realtek RTS 3904N. That's going to be the little microcontroller on here, and I'd assume this just talks directly to it. So we'll hook up on the computer and take a look and see what's going on. So first thing you're going to need is a FTDI serial connector, kind of like this. And then what you'll do is you'll take your ground and then your TX and RX and hook up TX to the RX spot on the board and RX to the TX spot, because we're listening to what it's talking and talking to where it's listening. So that's why you wire it up that way. It's not TX to TX, because then they'd be trying to talk on the same port. So yep, you'll just hook that up and then hook it up on the computer. I did it through Linux because I'm a little more familiar with trying to do TTY on Linux than I am on Windows. And I'm more familiar with connecting to a COM port on Linux than I am on Windows. So that's I'm using Kali Linux on here to connect to it, and they're a little bit, since I'm just going directly to the port on there, they're kind of hard to do there. Probably should just solder some wires on and then just grab onto them out there. It's just, these holes just aren't that easy to grab onto. Let's see, let's try it. But probably won't be capturing this on camera. So ground is that second one, and then let's go ahead and get our, let's see, RX to TX here, and TX to RX right here. Well, sorry, RX to TX. There we go. So now have it wired up, and I did put, let's see, RX is, oh yeah, I got them on there backwards. It's going to be easier to just swap it right here, so I'll just take this off and swap it right here, so that way I'm not having to fight to get those pins back on there. So there we go. Yep, if you get your RX and RX in the same spot, you're just not going to have any life out of it. So there we go. Got it hooked up, and then we'll just plug the USB cable in and plug it on the computer. So let's go ahead and do that, so that way you can see what's going on the computer. Okay, now that we have our USB to serial hooked up to the serial port on the device, let's go ahead and see what we can do to it in terminal. So first we are going to figure out which USB device we're going to talk to, and it is going to be USB 0. This would vary if you have different devices hooked up. Alright, so next we are going to screen into it, so screen. TTY USB 0, because that's the one that we used, and then we have to put the baud rate in, which I know this one, so it would vary from device to device. So now we are in at it. Let's go ahead and reboot it, because we're just looking at a blank screen here. I can type. It's not showing. Oops. Alright, there we go. System is going down. So now it is rebooting, and this takes a minute, so we will fast forward here for a second. Okay, sorry for the cut screen to this point. I just, my computer was glitching, so I rebooted it, so, there's no point of really showing the boot load anyways. Well, you saw it, it came down, and then I was getting some glitches where basically when I would type, I wasn't getting everything I was typing on my screen. It was still typing it into the shell, I just wasn't seeing what I was typing, so it'd be kind of annoying for you. So here we go, we're back to the beginning, so now let's boot it up. Just ls, it gives you all the directories, because it's just a regular Linux system, so we're going to ls, and then we will see what we see. So as you can see, you have sd upgrade.sh, which that could be interesting in the future. It looks like, if I had to guess, you could reflash this through the SD slot on this particular camera using that command. But let's go ahead and get to the security flaws in this camera. So first of all, yeah, it just lets you screen right into it, drops you right into a root shell, so you can do whatever you want with it. But let's go ahead and take a look at some security flaws here. And remember, I'm not doing this to really, hack this thing. I'm just trying to learn about these asynchronous serial connections, UART connections, and JTAG. I'm not seeing a JTAG on the board, but I'll look into it some more. But right now we're messing with this serial port on here. So okay, we're in here. and let's look at some interesting things. So first, let's change our directory. So cd and then oops space etc. And take a look in here. Let's just ls in here and see what we got. So we got some interesting folders here. Some of them might catch your eye that you might think would be interesting, like password underscore back. But let's go ahead and skip some of these and go straight to this full directory here. This could be interesting because we know that this thing's got its own web server on it. So let's go to web server and see what's in here. Alright, and let's list and see what's in here. So we have our authentication config and the light HTTPD user. So let's first look at, so we're going to use VI and then go to auth.conf. Alright, look in here and we can see where it says on the third or fourth line here, auth backend plain user file. So sounds like this is referring the authentication to this folder. So let's get out of this one, and let's see here. So you get in shift and then Q. There we go. We're now out of that. Let's go ahead and ls again. Okay, we're gonna vi light h. All right, let's see if I can type tpd dot user. Let's see what's in here. Oh, would you look at that? The admin password and username and password in plain text. So I didn't change it from the default on this camera for the purpose of this video. So yeah, there you go. You got your default admin, and yeah, that's the password for. So that way you can then here. I'll show you what you can do with that. Let's go ahead and open this up, and let's take it into. All right. There, and okay, it's going to ask us for that. So let's try this. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you look at that. Now we can get in, and you know, if this computer had ActiveX, we could see it. No, look, we can now see it's telling us what's going on here. I don't have ActiveX on this computer, so I can't actually see the output on this computer, but I could on a regular computer. But then I can get in here and start changing all the different settings in it. So, yep, you got a lot of settings you can do. So, you know, you reboot, you can change anything. So that gives us pretty much access to what most people would want on here anyways. You really don't need to really figure out anything else for most people, but alright, I'm done messing around. Alright, let's get out of this. So let's go and look at some other stuff. Let's go and I don't want to show you. So you can go into network and then go into Wi-Fi, and you can change the password, and it'll pop up right there. It'll show you in plain text where it's saving the password to. Just that way, less editing, less blurring out my password I have on here. Alright, let me go to the folder, because I already know what folder it's in. Let's see here. We're going to go to cd, and let's just go back to the root directory, or well, not root directory, but that. Alright, ls, and then we're going to go to cd, and then var, and I'll just go ahead and go directly to it. Hopefully I can spell right. Alright, and let's list what's in here. And we have a couple of things in here which would have some interesting information in here. Plus you can make it beep and stuff, but whatever. Let's go into VI, and then sys config dot ini. Alright, so there we go. Now we are in the system config on here, and we have the current information. Let's keep going down. There's a lot of information in here. So there we go. Now we have the end user's network and their password. Obviously, I'm going to try to blur out my password in the video because I don't want y'all to see my network password, since a lot of y'all are locals that actually come over here for repairs. But yeah, that is pretty much, you got everything in here. And let's see here. I'm trying to see if this thing has FTP, because then you could also get in here and do other stuff. But yeah, that's about it. That's about all I wanted to show you on what you can do with this one, just going through that. So we will again exit this and exclamation mark, and there you go. That's it. You can get into everything you want on here, and I'm sure there is a way to download the entire file system through this serial connect. Okay, well, hopefully y'all found that entertaining and maybe learned something from it. Just another thing we could have attacked on this camera is it did have a readable flash memory that was sitting right next to that serial port. So had I not been able to get access to the serial port, probably could have just pulled that flash memory EEPROM off and dumped it and found the passwords or whatever required to get in through the serial, or to just re-enable the serial port. But yeah, this is a pretty easy target. It's just a like $17-20 or so camera that has tilt pan zoom, and it also has a microphone and speaker, so that way it can listen and you can talk back through it. So it makes a pretty decent baby monitor, as long as you have zero concern about your network security. So ways that this attack could have been interesting is, I mean, a lot of these cameras are the same way. Like the D-Link cameras, there's some videos on people doing similar stuff to them, where you can get all this information right off of the camera. And these things pretty cheap. They break sometimes. People throw them out, and someone get their hands on it and power it back up, and now they got your password. I'm not that kind of target. Nobody's going to be interested on what's going on my network. However, if you're some wealthy person, or you have a bank or something and you're using a cheap camera, you probably wouldn't be using something this cheap, but some other cameras, that'd be a real concern if somebody could get it, and then now they have your admin password that you probably use on everything if you're actually changing them. Most of these, they're just going to have the default admin password, which is written on the bottom of them anyway. So, most people don't bother to change them. The setup utility on here does recommend, it's a pop-up. It recommends you change it and everything. So, I would assume a lot of these out there actually do have the default password change, but you can get past that as soon as you actually have physical access to it. Once you can hold it, you can then get into it and get all the data. There are other attacks for this camera. I saw online that you can attack it on the network too, but you'd have to be on the network to do that. Yeah, so if you're disposing of something like this, I don't know how I'd recommend it, because if you really are concerned about your network password, I don't know, change the password after you get rid of them, because these things definitely, they'll leave you vulnerable if somebody has physical access to it. Then what are the odds that you're the target, that they're gonna take this and go to that level of attack on it? Just food for thought. Maybe don't store passwords in plain text if you're developing these. I get that most of those folders we were in would require root access to get to them, to then read them. But you left us a root terminal wide open on there. So, I just literally connected to it, and that was it. I had root access to it. So, I don't know. Maybe if you're designing Internet of things, maybe put some level of protection on there. I don't know. It's just food for thought. But interesting thing. I thought it was interesting. This was my first time ever doing this. This is the first time doing any sort of serial connection like that. I mean, I've used these before for OBD1 connections, using them as a scan tool on OBD1 stuff. Back when I was programming some stuff, but on a 90s model Camaro. But yeah, this is interesting stuff to me, and very interesting on how easy it was to get in there, and then once you're in there, how much is available. And yeah, there's a way to get onto it through on the network too. So, but I'll leave that up to you to find. Uh, yeah, hopefully this was interesting. Hopefully you learned something, and I'll see you on the next video.